Hello guys, this is What If Deku Was a God. It's going to be where there is rank and Izuku got highest, but people think it's a lie, and that led Izuku to think that too, so yeah, and it's going to show his power more when he meets All Might, you will see. Quirk ranking. S legendary, All Might, 1000 to 950 RP, ranking points. A extremely strong, Endeavor, best genist, etc. 949 to 850 RP. B strong, Kamui Woods, Death Arms, etc. 849 to 700 RP. C above average 699 to 500 RP. D average 499 to 200 RP. E weak 199 to 50 RP. F useless 49 to 0 RP. The 4-year-old Izuku Midoriya sat in a chair at the doctor's office, where he and his mother were eagerly waiting for the results of Izuku's quirk test. Izuku was playing with his All Might action figure while his mother looked on, happy that her son had the dream of becoming a hero. Izuku turned to his mother with a questioning look on his face. "Do you think I will get a strong quirk like All Might?" Izuku said, holding his toy high up in the air. "I'm sure you will." Inko said happily that Izuku was having big dreams. The door opened and the doctor entered the room. His face looked somewhat troubled. Inko noticed this, which made her nervous, as she didn't want Izuku's dream of becoming a pro hero be crushed at his age. The doctor sat down on his chair and scratched his head with a pen. "Well, young Izuku surely has a quirk, but to say it's strong is an understatement." Izuku excitedly wobbled up and down in his chair, happy that he got a strong quirk. Inko was relieved that Izuku had a quirk and that his dream wasn't shattered, but she still wondered about what the doctor meant with his statement. "What are you talking about? Is his quirk A-rated?" she asked, now fully focused on what the doctor had to say. "Well, how should I say this? Out of 1000 points which are given in the quirk test, Izuku reached the full 1000 points. The doctor said, shocking Inko and Izuku likewise. While Inko still looked shocked, Izuku on the other hand had a giant smile on his face. "I can be like All Might," Izuku screamed, running through the doctor's office. Inko was laughing and the doctor looked happy too. "Thank you very much, doctor. Come on Izuku, let's get home, we can make Katsudon." Izuku and Inko went home with Izuku only being able to think about how he will be like All Might. Izuku arrived at the playground the next day. Bakugo and the others were playing already. He ran over to them, a giant smile on his face, not being able to wait to tell Bakugo about his quirk ranking. "Kaken." Bakugo turned around waving towards Izuku. "I was at the quirk doctor's office yesterday, guess my quirk rating." Bakugo looked at him, and his smile turned into an evil grin. "You're definitely weaker than me, so I would say maybe about 300 points." His goons laughed at the sight that was Izuku's disappearing happiness. "Why do you have to be mean, Kaken?" "I'm not mean, it's just the truth," Bakugo said, acting like he was taunting Izuku. "Anyway, the doctor said that I reached 1000 points. Izuku said, now being back to his usual cheerful attitude. Bakugo and his goons were stunned for a second before Bakugo decided to further mock Izuku. 1000? You're crazy, not even All Might has that many points. He probably said 10, and you just didn't listen correctly, Bakugo said, laughing at the green-haired boy. While Izuku was slightly angry, he began glowing, which didn't go unnoticed. "Whoa, Izuku is glowing," the winged one said, pointing towards Izuku. As soon as Izuku focused on the fact that he was glowing, the light that he emitted disappeared. "You see? That was your stupid weak quirk," Bakugo said, mocking Izuku even further. "No, it's not a stupid quirk, just you wait until my quirk shows its full power." Izuku ran away, sad that his friends were so mean towards him. The 14-year-old Greenette was lost in thoughts, walking towards his school while mentally thinking about his future as a hero. "I have 10 months left before the entrance exam, and all my quirk did was glow once. Izuku arrived in his classroom sitting down silently, not even looking at the others who were making fun of him once again. I need to train way more to even stand the slightest chance in the entrance exam was all that Izuku could think about at the moment. When the teacher entered the classroom, he began talking. It's time to start thinking seriously about your futures. You guys are all third years now. I'll pass out handouts for your future plans now, but you all are pretty much planning on going to the hero course, right? A loud yes was heard and all the students in the room began showing off their quirks except for Izuku and Bakugo. The teacher calmed them down and was about to say something when Bakugo jumped onto his desk creating explosions in his hands. Don't lump us all in the same group, I'm not going to be stuck at the bottom with the rest of these rejects. His classmates got really pissed at him until the teacher told the class that Bakugo registered for the U.High entrance exam. Of course, Bakugo wasn't finished and started mocking his class some more. I aced all the mock tests, I'm the only one suitable to go to U.A, and I'll be the one to beat All Might. The teacher took a second look into his list and saw another student with the same school registered. Midoriya, you applied for U.A too, right? Izuku put his hands above his head, laying his head onto the table. That human glow stick at U.A? His quirk can't even activate on demand. Bakugo charged Izuku, blasting Izuku's table in the progress, which scared the green-haired boy. After class, while Izuku was packing up, he was approached by Bakugo and his goons. Bakugo snatched Izuku's hero analysis book out of his hands. What the hell is this? Hero analysis for the future, I don't think you'll need this anymore. Bakugo blasted the book to pieces and threw it out the window into the koi pond outside the school building. Jump off the roof, you might get a quirk in the next life. Bakugo told Izuku, grinning at the disturbed teen. Izuku walked down the stairs towards the koi pond, fishing his book out of the water. Izuku took the long route home as he had a lot of things he needed to think about. He noticed something coming out of the drain next to him. The drain lid shot up into the sky, green sludge spewing out of it. Izuku stood there shocked, not moving until the green mass began to engulf him in it. He struggled to escape the sludge, but his power faded away as he grasped for air. Stop struggling and this won't hurt a bit. Izuku slowly lost consciousness. A second before he was gone, he saw something yellow appear in front of him. Texas smash, he heard, feeling a large amount of air rushing past him before he lost consciousness completely. Izuku woke up feeling light slaps to his cheek. When he saw who it was, he began freaking out completely. His idol and number one hero stood in front of him. I'm glad that you woke up, young man, but if you'll excuse me now, I have to deliver this criminal to the police. All Might prepared to jump away, but before he could jump, Izuku made a split-second decision. He grabbed All Might's leg with everything he had to not fall off into his demise. All Might tried to push Izuku off of his leg as they were flying through the city. If I let go now, I'll die. Only after hearing this, All Might realized the situation they were in and decided that he needed to land as quickly as possible. Izuku stood in front of All Might wondering if he should ask the one question that has been in his head since that day. Can someone with a weak quirk be a hero? All Might looked at Izuku, not being able to comprehend what he meant by that, but he knew that Izuku waited for an answer, so he answered. People with weak quirks should stay away from hero work. At this moment Izuku's heart broke. All Might, the one he had admired all his life, told him that he should give it up. Izuku stopped listening to All Might's reasoning and ran down the stairs, wiping his tears away. All Might processed what just happened and understood why he asked. Should I need to dash? All Might spewed out a lot of blood and shrunk down to his normal size. Damn it, my time limit is up. I'll have to find that kid again and tell him more about the job of a hero, but first I need to get the villain to the police station. Izuku was going along the main street when he heard an explosion not far from him. He decided that if he was close to it he could take a quick look and then go home. Izuku arrived at the scene and saw a lot of people gathered around the actual villain attack. He could spot Death Arms, Kamui Woods, Backdraft and MT Lady trying to fight some villain. Izuku probably would have been more interested in the fight if his idol wouldn't have just destroyed his hopes and dreams. Izuku pushed through the crowd to get a better look as he still wanted to see what was going on, but what he saw let his blood freeze. Kakin is being attacked by the slime villain which All Might should have captured. This is all my mistake. Izuku got angry at himself for being so selfish. Why can't Ito anything right? One of the people next to Izuku noticed that he seemed to be in despair. Hey, don't worry about that kid, the heroes are going to defeat the villain. Everything the man said ran through his head. The heroes aren't doing anything. They're probably just planning on how to defeat the villain. Izuku heard the heroes talking. I can't grab the slime, my quirk is useless against the villain. Where are the firefighters? I can't get into the street, it's only a one-lane road. I can't get close to them because of the fire. God damn it, we need to wait for someone whose quirk is suited for this situation. Hearing the heroes talking about how their quirks were unfit pushed Izuku over the edge. Izuku's eyes shot open black like death, a red shine filled his pupils, blood dripping from his eyes. Izuku slowly looked up, staring the slime villain into his eyes, Izuku's rage consuming him. Bakugo saw Izuku and what was happening to him, scaring him more than any villain could scare him. He rushed past the heroes who were standing at a safe distance. Hey kid, get back here. You're going to get yourself killed. He heard the words of the heroes, but he was controlled by something more sinister than anyone could ever imagine. Nothing will stop me. When Izuku ran through the street, black mist began forming around his hands. Izuku reached the slime villain, his hands extending towards it. As soon as he made contact with him, a dark aura surrounded them, and the slime villain exploded into a million pieces, splattering around the alleyway. The heroes and civilians stood there shocked that a child could do such a thing. When Izuku came back to his senses, all he could do was look at what he had done. After the villain was picked up by the heroes, they began scolding Izuku for what he had done, all the while Bakugo got praised by the heroes. Izuku was done and just straight up ran away from the heroes, pissed at their ignorance as to what would have happened if he hadn't intervened. When he was on his way home, he heard someone yell through the small street they were in. When did I ask you for help, you nerd? Izuku turned around and faced Bakugo. He really wanted to let out all his anger. Bakugo was already wandering off, but not before saying the last thing Izuku wanted to hear. And if you think you're smarter than me by hiding your quirk all this time, then I'll show you by beating you into the place where you belong, trash. Izuku wanted to say sorry, but before he could even open his mouth, Bakugo was gone. Izuku turned around and wanted to go home, but fate was out for him that day. I am here. All Might shouted before he suddenly spat out a lot of blood and begun shrinking, confusing Izuku even more. You're not the real All Might, you are an imposter. Izuku said, not knowing what was happening. All Might began explaining how he sustained his injury, and how it affected his body. Izuku seemed to understand what All Might was talking about and decided to trust him. I thought you told me that you had a weak quirk, but what was that quirk you showed while attacking the slime villain? Izuku looked at All Might, slightly confused at what he was implying before he finally understood that his quirk had just manifested. Wait, my quirk just manifested? Izuku was ecstatic that he finally had a quirk, and on top of that even one of the strongest ones in existence. So you didn't have a quirk like that before? No, all my quirk ever did was glow up once or twice in my life. Then why did you run to save that boy if you knew that it would get you killed? I don't know, I guess my legs moved on their own. Izuku looked down at his legs, not knowing what exactly had brought him to jump in and risk his life. That's great. You are the material that real heroes are made out of. Wait, you're saying I can be a hero? Izuku was on the verge of crying, as he heard that his idol finally said the words he wanted to hear all his life. Yes. You can be a hero. Izuku felt happy, the happiest he has ever been. Meet me on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. at Dagoba Beach, and we can train together. Izuku nodded frantically at All Might. Perfect, I'll see you on Saturday. All Might turned into his hero form once more and jumped away, before Izuku could thank him. After standing there for a couple minutes he decided that it was time to go home, his mother probably worrying where he was. Izuku woke up Friday morning happy what he had achieved the previous day. I'm not a weakling anymore, I finally can be a hero who saves everyone with a fearless smile. He thought about going into the old forest to train, as he now had 10 months until the U.A entrance exam would begin. Izuku went out into the old forest to finally start training his quirk and finding out what his boundaries were. When he arrived at the forest he saw something which terrified him, a giant bird-like creature. Next to the bird-like creature there was a boy who looked like he could be around the same age as Izuku, but he had hands attached all over his body. Izuku slowly approached them thinking that they might just be kids playing around with their quirks, but once he got close to them the kid turned around and looked Izuku deeply into his eyes. We can't let Master's work be discovered. Nomu, kill him. The Nomu ran towards Izuku ready to obliterate him any second. Before the Nomu reached him time stopped and Izuku felt like he had lost all gravity that was upon him. He closed his eyes believing that he was about to die, not wanting to see his final moments. When he opened his eyes he was in a white room with a large hooded being standing at the opposite side of the room. Izuku slowly opened his eyes barely able to look at what was standing in front of him, because of the light blinding him. Izuku Midoriya, I chose you as the wielder for the strongest quirk to ever exist. It's called God, said the mysterious person. You will become the strongest hero and rule over good and evil. Izuku couldn't believe what he heard. He should be the strongest hero to ever live. But how do I use my quirk? You will find out soon enough, young one. Now go and fight that brainless monster. It will be your first step to becoming the strongest hero. We will meet again in the future, and you can ask your questions. And with that Izuku was sent back into the real world and saw that the Nomu was about to punch him directly in the face, but something was different. Time was moving slower, but Izuku was still moving at a normal speed. For those around him it looked like he was extremely felt something warm and cold inside him clashing together until his eyes went completely black with red pupils. Izuku stared menacingly at the Nomu. Just milliseconds later the Nomu's arm was ripped off, and it let out a huge scream of noticed that he can actually think and tried to move his arm, which actually worked, so he was beginning to think that his quirk is now fully didn't have his golden shine around him, but instead he had red sparks forming all around him. Shigaraki was in shock that a child was able to tear apart the arm of the Nomu, which should be unbeatable, but luckily for Shigaraki the Nomu quickly regenerated and continued his attacks on Izuku. Izuku just looked at that thing, and while he jumped up he accidentally formed a big crater under being in the air. Izuku just got more angry at that Nomu, as it was trying to catch him mid-air, but that Nomu wasn't even close to his speed and agility. Then it happened. Izuku imagined the Nomu to explode, and while he didn't explode immediately Izuku's body moved on its own again, and attacked the Nomu with punches that created shockwaves, so strong they ripped out trees standing 25 meters 82 feet away. Shigaraki held onto some plants with all his power, until it finally exploded into a million pieces, leaving a giant puddle of blood in front of Izuku, who also was covered completely with blood. Shigaraki looked at Izuku in awe. He wanted to kill him right there and now. But as the Nomu was strong enough to take hits from even his master without dying, he was smart enough to understand that he alone couldn't fight Izuku. Shigaraki called out for Kurogiri to teleport him to the HQ so he wasn't in danger anymore, but before he was teleported he looked at Izuku and told him with a big and creepy grin on his face, "You should be careful to not bring your family into this fight or else they might die." At that Izuku lost it completely. Not only did they attack him, but that guy also threatened his had no control over his body, and went in less than a second to Shigaraki and punched him so hard that he broke 9 ribs, threw up blood and pierced his right lung. But that wasn't enough for Izuku. That villain should suffer to see that no one threatened his family. Izuku looked at Shigaraki's face and told him, if you do anything to my mother, I will kill every single person close to you in the most brutal way possible. Shigaraki wanted to run but couldn't as he was shaking too much and he was teleported to the League's hideout, but not without getting hit one last time, breaking both of his arms. It.V blinked in the corner of the bar, while Kurojiri was bandaging Shigaraki. Shigaraki, what happened, where's the Nomu? Shigaraki, some child appeared and killed the Nomu. You lied to me, master, he isn't undefeatable. Master, what, a child defeated the Nomu? Tell me, how did this kid look like? Shigaraki described what Izuku looked like and how strong he was to his master. Master, green hair, red and black eyes you say. We are lucky to still have the Nomu that's as strong as All Might, so that shouldn't be a problem, but still that's interesting, a boy with that much power. Back with Izuku. Izuku had calmed down and looked at the bloody corpse of the Nomu, or to say at the rest which was still he didn't know was that All Might looked at the whole fight, or to better say one-sided beatdown. All Might approached Izuku and began to say, "Young man, are you okay?" Izuku got startled by All Might suddenly being behind him, and a million thoughts ran through Izuku's head. Why is he here? I hope he doesn't call the police or thinks I'm a monster. Why didn't he stop the Nomu from attacking me? Am I too fast? Izuku began stuttering, "Why yeah. Did you take down that thing alone?" It was at that moment Izuku remembered what All Might told him 3 months ago. You should give it up. Yeah, I'm sorry that I used my quirk, but I didn't think a hero would be in this area. Izuku said with a fake smile. All Might remembered the boy from 3 months ago now too, but he thought he had a weak quirk, and not one that could level entire cities, and felt proud that he could tell him that he was really strong, and that he should apply to U.A because he seemed like a real hero to All Might, but at the same time he felt sad and regretted telling him that he should give up on his dreams. That's not a problem, young man, it was self-defense as it attacked you first, but I have to ask you something. You told me that your quirk was weak and it seemed at that time like it was, but why didn't you tell me that you were this strong? All Might asked with a slight concerned and confused look on his face. I didn't know that I had this power. The only thing at that time was that I could make myself glow, Izuku said with slight sadness. All Might was shocked to hear that the boy didn't know he had that power, but still rushed in to help that kid trapped in the slime villain. Seems like that was the time he activated his quirk. He is a true hero. All Might, young one, you truly are amazing. You didn't know you had that power, but still rushed into the fight to save your friend, and I can't deny a true hero. What is your name, young one? I'm Izuku Midoriya. Izuku could barely keep him from stuttering. All Might actually believes in me now. All Might, Izuku, you should enroll into UA High. I think with their teaching you can become the future #1 hero. Izuku was now on his knees tearing up from All Might's words. Also, young Midoriya, I want to train you personally, so meet me at Mizutafu's Dagoba Beach tomorrow at 8 am. All Might said with pride in his voice. Alright. Izuku got out with big difficulty. You can go home now. I will call the police and tell them about the incident, All Might said. See you tomorrow, Izuku said with a bow. Time skip, Dagoba Beach 8 am. Izuku was standing nervously at the beach he had cleaned not all too long ago, waiting for the symbol of peace, and he wanted to train with, was still amazed by All Might and his own quirk. All Might came around a corner in his skinny form. Izuku was still looking like he was thinking about something, but as All Might came closer he heard that the young boy was muttering about a million things, like how the training would go, what they were doing, or simply the fact that the All Might wanted to train with him. All Might called out to Izuku, "Izuku, over here," but Izuku just looked at him, and gave him a confused look. Sorry, do I know you? Oh crap, right, he didn't see my transformation on the building. All Might just transformed into the buff man. Everyone on TV saw him, was very confused, even to the point where he called out All Might to be in. As All Might showed him his injury, and explained everything, Izuku seemingly understood the second All Might's explanation ended. All Might was stunned how clean the beach was, and Izuku told him he cleaned the beach over the last 3 months. Might was speechless at how fast and clean the beach was. Only 3 months, he must have worked like hell, was all Might could think about. Alright then, we should train your body and mind over the next 6 months for the UA High entrance exam in a different way. All Might exclaimed happily. Izuku always woke up at 5 a.m., trained, ate breakfast, went to school, ate lunch, trained with All Might, and had mock battles with him. Then he went to sleep and would repeat the process for a whole 6 months until their entrance exam would be around the corner. Izuku woke up on the last day of training. He was now able to use up to 10 minutes of his power without losing. Might was standing at the beach waiting for Izuku to show up. Izuku's abilities that he unlocked: enhanced regeneration, teleportation, invisibility, up to 5 minutes, demon mode, god mode, weapon manifestation, elemental control, wind, earth, extreme strength. Izuku waved at All Might. He just looked into Izuku's direction and gave him a happy. Izuku stood in front of All Might. He asked Izuku if he would want to inherit his quirk and explained everything to him as well. All Might, are you sure about that? It seems like there are way better heroes and students out there, Izuku muttered loud enough for All Might to hear. Nonsense, you are the perfect hero. You put the lives of others in front of your own. You are the definition of a hero, All Might said while spewing out blood. Thank you, All Might, Izuku said while crying his heart out. Now young Izuku, eat this, All Might said with a wide grin. What, Izuku said with all hope lost in his face. It doesn't matter as long as you take in my DNA, All Might said still grinning. Izuku ate the hair, disgusted at the sour taste. Now you should wait for a couple hours and after that you can activate the full power of One for All, but don't forget your body can handle 40% at maximum. Why yes, All Might, Izuku said. Now go rest up, you'll need it for tomorrow. Oh, and also good luck, All Might said while giving a thumbs up. Thank you, All Might, I will not let you down, Izuku said shortly before running home. As Izuku was lying in bed that evening, he was so happy that over the last 10 months he went from being the glowstick weirdo to being called a true hero by All Might himself. Izuku woke up the next day at 5 a.m., and still had 2 hours left to eat, shower, and go to school for the entrance exam. Izuku got up from his bed, put on some clothes and going into the kitchen, seeing his mom already awake and happy as ever. Good morning, Izuku, I made your favorite katsudon, his mother said with a happy smile. Thanks, Mom, Izuku said with a big grin on his face. After Izuku left his home, he went to the train station to get to UA High. As he was in the train, he suddenly heard a man say, "Look, that's All Might." This got Izuku's attention, and he looked out of the window in the direction the man was pointing, and he actually saw All Might jumping from building to building with his ever so happy expression. As Izuku got out of the train, he had 25 minutes left, and was only 15 minutes away from UA, so he went and took his sweet time. When he arrived at UA, he had 5 minutes left and began going a bit faster as he noticed most people were already inside. But the world had to have something ready for him, so he went faster and tripped over a little stone face first into the ground, at least he thought so, and as he should have hit the ground he started floating. And when looking next to him, a girl had her hand on his backpack, so he wouldn't float away. Sorry for using my quirk on you without asking, but it would have been bad luck if you fell down. Izuku was looking at the girl and just started blushing, but she didn't notice and just said that her name was Okaku Uraraka. Izuku just smiled and wanted to say thank you. Uraraka, we should go and we only have 2 minutes left. I hope we see each other again soon. I talked to a girl, was all Izuku think about, but then he hurried inside into the big hall and headed to his seat. Bakugo just looked at Izuku and said with his cocky grin, "So the good-for-nothing glowstick is here too." Hello Kachon was all Izuku could get out before Present Mike started the introduction and explained all the faux villains. Then a blue-haired kid stood up and complained about Izuku's muttering and something about the robots, but Izuku ignored him as he was too embarrassed. Izuku was at the entrance to the big city, and looked around seeing all kinds of cool quirks. Then he noticed the nice girl from before and wanted to thank her for the catch from before, but before he could get to her the blue-haired kid stopped him, and asked him if he wanted to distract the girl because if he wanted to he could go home. Go. Present Mike screamed, "What? There are no countdowns in real fights." As soon as they heard this, everyone rushed into the city with everything they had, leaving Izuku behind. I definitely need to get to a higher point, and at this his pupils turned red, leaving his eyes teleported to the roof of a building overlooking a lot of the fake city. Izuku teleported around some time and attacking the robots. He even helped some students that were about to be attacked by robots from behind. Izuku got 145 points in less than 3. Continued for the next 5 minutes until he heard a giant rumble. Looking at the source of the chaos, he saw a giant robot that was at least 50 meters 164 feet high. He wanted to get away from it too, but not because he was scared but because he wanted to get more points, until he heard a desperate cry for help. As Izuku looked around, he found the nice girl from before, and he just moved on his own again, but this time not thinking that he is useless but able to take down the started to destroy the concrete below him again with every footstep taken. He jumped up, and with such speed everyone was in awe at how much he destroyed by just running, and looked the zero-pointer directly into the eyes with completely dark red eyes. He didn't think about anything, and just hit the villain with everything he had and destroyed it in one. Whole body was dented and destroyed except for the head, half of it was completely pulverized. Izuku was falling back down, but he had completely used up his 10 minutes of his controlled power. Now it was time to use one for all. He charged up the power inside him. He now had green sparks around him, and his eyes were completely normal. Izuku now was in an upright position and charged his legs to 40% to not die on. Managed to use one for all on the last second and stopped him from landed perfectly without a single scratch. He immediately ran to Uraraka and lifted the big chunk of concrete from Uraraka. Uraraka was amazed at the display of strength from Izuku and asked him, "What is your name? I actually forgot to ask back there, hehe." "Izuku Midoriya," Izuku said with a happy smile. Well, anyone injured? Here, have some gummies," said an old lady walking to Uraraka and Midoriya. "Are you okay, young lady? Here, let me help you," said the old lady as she gave Uraraka a kiss. She was now healed completely and thanked recovery went home as Uraraka and Midoriya talked a little bit as both of them said their thank yous and went their ways. Time skip 1 week. Izuku was sitting at the dinner table with his mother, who looked worried at her son. "Izuku, are you okay?" "Yes, sorry, just got a little bit distracted," Izuku said. After Izuku had done the dishes, his mother crawled in on all fours. "Is Izuku, it's here." His mother gave him the letter and waited outside his door, walking up and down the floor. "Here goes nothing," said Izuku to no one in particular. He opened the letter and was surprised to see a small disc falling out. Suddenly a projection of All Might started playing. "Young Midoriya, you were truly amazing at the entrance exam. You got 440 villain points, which already broke all of the previous records anyone has ever gotten, including me. But that wasn't all you got, based on rescue points too." All Might showed a video where Uraraka wanted to give Izuku her points, because she wanted to give him his points back that he lost because of her. But how could a hero school reject someone that put his own life in front of that of someone else? You get 60 rescue points, and are on a total of 500 points. Welcome to your Hero Academia, young Midoriya. Izuku was so happy he got out of his room, and his mother and him were both crying out of went to bed very happy. I hope you liked this chapter of the See How Bakugo will react to Izuku outclassing him in every aspect of the exam. It was the first day of school and Izuku was running through UA High on lookout for his classroom 1A. Ah, there it is. Izuku exclaimed, happy at his find. He stood in front of the giant door. I guess it's made for people whose quirks make them bigger, Izuku thought as he saw the size of the door. I really hope Kaken isn't in this class, he thought as he opened the door. He saw the one thing he didn't want to see, Kaken, and he already was in an argument with the blue-haired kid from the entrance exam. Hey Midoriya, said a happy voice behind Izuku. Izuku turned around, and at that moment he saw that voice was Uraraka's, who showed thumbs up and had a big smile on her. In class turned their attention to Izuku and Uraraka. The blue-haired kid came running up to Izuku and stopped directly in front of him, while doing weird movements with his arms. I have to excuse myself for what I did at the entrance exam. I am Tenya Ida Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you. After that everyone introduced themselves. If you want to make friends you can go home, said a tired-looking man in a yellow sleeping bag. It took you 7 seconds to shut up. Now put on these and get to the P.grounds. We will have a test, but isn't the entrance ceremony today? Uraraka asked Aizawa. As a hero, you don't have time for those things. As everyone arrived at the P.grounds in their gym uniforms, Aizawa told them what they would be doing to test their quirk boundaries. Sounds like fun, said Mina. Fun you say? Then let's make it fun. The last place gets expelled, Aizawa said with a grin which caused everyone to be scared except Momo, Izuku, Bakugo and Todoroki, because they thought that they were strong enough not to come in last place. Then they started ready to give it their finished the sprint in 3.04 seconds, Uraraka in 7.15. It was Izuku's and Bakugo's try. Bakugo was mad and wanted to blast Izuku, but he wasn't able to do as he had finished in 0.01 seconds. Bakugo was so stunned that Izuku beat him that he only got 4.13 seconds. Next up was the grip strength test. Everyone had their eyes on Shoji as he got 540 kilograms, but suddenly they heard a loud strong crack strong and looked at Izuku how he had broken the grip strength test. Aizawa gave him another one but bigger, and as they looked onto the scale Izuku got 14.380 kilograms, at which everyone was scared how strong Izuku was. Is he a monster, and how can someone be this strong, were questions that Izuku heard from his class. Aizawa was shocked at how strong he was. He announced that they would now be going to the standing long jump. Bakugo, Aoyama and some others jumped over the sandbox, with Uraraka jumping the furthest, almost reaching the end of the school. Then it was Izuku's turn and everyone thought he was gonna jump to the moon, but he just stood there and jumped. Izuku broke the ground around him in a 13 meters 42.65 feet was gone in a blur and didn't arrive for 27 seconds. After that everyone thought he fell into the ocean or was stranded somewhere, but then he landed at the exact same spot. The robot said 40.075 kilometers, circumference of the Earth. Everyone was in awe. Even Aizawa thought about All Might's records back then, 1.3 seconds in the dash, 1.800 kg in the strength test and jumping 1.2 km in the standing long jump. The repeated sidesteps came and Mineta surprised everyone by receiving 2,856 sidesteps in 1 minute. Then it was Izuku's turn and after 5 seconds the robot said maximum reached. Participant did 99,999 sidesteps. Everyone knew that he definitely wasn't human anymore. Then came the ball throw where Bakugo went first and reached 705.2 meters. After him everyone gave the rest hayad with no one reaching as far as him except Uraraka, who got infinity by making the ball have zero gravity. Everyone thought the same thing. Finally someone who beat Midoriya. But then came Midoriya's try. He just got into a throwing position, and this time gave more than a 100%. His eyes turned white and yellow when he said God mode. Everyone had shivers, and then it happened. Izuku threw with everything he had. The device in Aizawa's hand immediately said infinity. Everyone was scared at how Izuku looked and how strong he was, but he just turned back to his normal form, and looked happy at the might was looking around the corner, and even he feared what would have happened if Izuku had gone down the path of a villain. These are the results. Izuku Midoriya 1 st Katsuki Bakugo 2 nd Momo Yaoyorozu 3 rd Tenya Ida 4 th Shoto Todoroki 5 th Fumikage Tokoyami 6 th Mizo Shoji 7 th Mashireo Ojiro 8 th Ijiro Kirishima 9 th Mina Ashido 10 th Ochako Uraraka 11 th Koji Koda 12 th Rikido Sato 13 th Tsuyu Azui 14 th Yuga Aoyama 15 th Hanta Siro 16 th Denki Kaminari 17 th Kyoka Jiro 18 th Toru Hagakure 19 th Minoru Mineta 20 th Mineta, you can go home now, Aizawa said with a creepy grin. Mineta started crying as he was getting expelled. After he was done crying, everyone was allowed to go back to their classroom. Most of them were still stunned from Midoriya's performance. They went to the class and got the timetable for the first year of school, then everyone went home. P. The next day they sat in the classroom and waited for the teacher to come to the room. "I wonder who will teach the heroics class." At this statement the door swung open. "I am here in a completely normal position," shouted All Might while standing in the door frame. "It's All Might," said some students, amazed that the number one hero is their teacher. Very well, young ones. Today we will be having battle training. All Might pressed a button and revealed 19 suitcases. "These are your hero. There should be 20. Aizawa-sensei expelled the last person in the quirk apprehension test, and to be honest, he seemed like a pervert." Momo said. "At least Aizawa didn't expel the whole class, so it seems like you have some talent to him," All Might said with his head hanging low. "But don't mind that, let's get ready and change into your hero suits." Everyone changed into the suits and went into the city from the exam where All Might already waited. "You all look fabulous in your outfits," said All Might with a thumbs up, and his signature Might saw Izuku's costume, and he just had to hide his laugh as he noticed the similarity between him and Izuku's costume. "Alright, we will choose the teams by drawing lots," All Might said as he chose the teams. Todoroki was paired 2 times, the second time with Yaoyorozu. All Might explained what they had to do. "Alright, first fight will be Team Midoriya versus Team Bakugo. Midoriya will be heroes and Bakugo will be villains. So Team Villain, get into the building. The heroes will be let loose in 5 minutes. Call it fate." Midoriya were on the same team. "Why, yeah, Uraraka," Midoriya said nervously. "Do you have a plan?" "Yes, Bakugo will come after me, and when he does that you go to Ida and try to capture the weapon. When I defeat Bakugo, I will come to you." "Sounds good, then we will try that," Uraraka said with a happy expression. "Hero team start," was heard over the intercom. As soon as they heard this they started running towards the building. When they entered they could already hear explosions from Bakugo. "Uraraka, go into the room to the right. When he is past the door, run to find Ida." Izuku's plan was working perfectly as Bakugo charged at him. As soon as he got past Uraraka, he noticed her running to find Ida and the bomb. "Izuku, you little shit, I am superior, and you should know that." Bakugo screamed as he ran to Izuku, already blasting explosions from his hands. But Izuku was faster. Bakugo used his strongest blast that didn't require his gauntlets. As he looked into the smoke he saw red and green sparks, and felt something connecting with his was hit into the wall down the hallway and broke through into the next room. Bakugo stood up and was barely conscious. Then he decided it was time to make the final move. He charged up all of his sweat and started to aim at Izuku. All Might saw this, and wanted to stop the fight. "Bakugo, don't fire that wep dash, don't stop this fight, All Might!" screamed Izuku. Bakugo fired his gauntlet. Izuku took the hit directly to the face. "Is Midoriya alright? Is he dead?" were questions that arose from his class. All Might flinched and hoped for the best. Izuku suddenly came jumping from the smoke and hit Bakugo square in the face, knocking him out. "Seems like I was stronger in the end." Kaken, Uraraka, where is the bomb? "3rd floor, directly above the entrance. Make yourself float and hold on to something." "Alright, done." With these words Izuku jumped up and broke through the 2nd floor into the 3rd, and took out a large portion of the ground with him, and the 3rd was stunned at how quick he had defeated Bakugo, and suddenly seconds later the announcement came from the intercom: "Hero team wins." Ida turned around to see that Midoriya had touched the bomb, and was so fast that Ida couldn't even see him. "I must congratulate you, Midoriya, you are truly superior to me." "No one is superior to anyone, we just had luck, that is all." Bakugo woke up and stared at the ceiling. Izuku went to Bakugo and wanted to help him up, but he just stood up himself, and was mad at Izuku that he got beaten by him. "Well done, young Uraraka and Midoriya, your planning and coordination has gotten you this win," praised All Might. His might told Bakugo and Ida what they did wrong, and how they lost. All other fights went the same way as the ones in the anime did. Todoroki was Momo's teammate too. Class president and USJ. Everyone was sitting in class while talking about what they would do today when Aizawa came into the room. "Good morning, class," Aizawa said in his usually grumpy voice. "Good morning, Aizawa-sensei," said the class. "Good work with yesterday's battle training," Aizawa said, slightly happy. "Now on to homeroom business. Sorry for the sudden announcement, but today..." "What is it? Another brutal pop quiz? You'll pick a class president." Suddenly a lot of people burst out of their seats wanting to be the class president. Ida explained that it would take someone that the class trusted, and that they should vote for the person. But everyone would just vote for themselves. Said continued that the person with multiple votes then would be the class rep, as that person would have the trust of more than one person. So they began voting. Izuku Midoriya 6 votes. Momo Yaoyorozu 3 votes. Tenya Ida -1 vote. Everyone else had 1 vote or none. Who the hell voted for Izuku? Fine, so your president's Midoriya, and your vice president is Yaoyorozu. Midoriya didn't expect that he would be voted. He didn't say anything, and was just standing there silently. "Alright, now get out, it's lunchtime," and with that the students left the classroom. As Uraraka, Ida and Izuku got their rice, and were eating, they talked about how Izuku got class president, and about Ida's brother the hero Ingenium, until the alarm went off, and an announcement sounded through the halls: "Security level 3 has been. Students, please evacuate in an orderly fashion." Ida, Uraraka and Izuku didn't know what was happening, and Ida asked another student, "What's security level 3? A random student looked terrified at Ida and the others. "It means someone's infiltrated the school ground. Hasn't happened in my 3 years here. Anyway, hurry up and get out of here." Everyone started running and pushing the others, as all of them wanted to get out as quickly as was pushed to the window where he could see something that the others couldn't. It was the media. Izuku thought about what he could do to get everyone attention, so he went for the best possible plan in his mind: "Uraraka, make me float." Uraraka turned around and hit Izuku, making him landed on the emergency exit sign. As he got the attention of everyone, he screamed, "Everything's fine, it's just the mass media." As all of them heard these words, they calmed down and moved in an orderly in class. Everyone congratulated Izuku, and told him that he really was suited to be class president. "Alright class, now we will be doing a special class with All Might and someone else." What are we doing exactly?" asked Zero. "Rescue training," Aizawa said while holding up a card with rescue written on it. Aizawa told them that they could choose whether or not to wear. Their of them decided to wear. They entered the bus as Midoriya was leading them. The bus, they were talking about quirks and heroes and stuff like that. When they arrived, they went into the U.S.J and saw 13, who greeted them and explained things about his quirk and how it could easily kill, and that there are quirks who could do the same as 13's, and that they should be careful about their usage. A black hole appeared right in front of the fountain, and a person with hands all over his body and face appeared, who was followed by 100 other people, and one All Might-sized bird creature. A lot of the students thought those were robots or rescue targets, but Izuku, Yaoyorozu and Todoroki knew that those were told 13 to protect the students, and that they shouldn't move away. Aizawa prepared to jump into the villains until the Black Mist and Hand Man began talking about that they wanted to kill All Might with their genetically modified. Was at this moment that Izuku began to remember that thing, and the person with the hands all over him. Izuku began thinking about how strong and fast the last one was, and if this thing was made to kill All Might, it surely would be strong. As Aizawa wanted to jump to the villains, Izuku called out, "Aizawa-sensei, watch out, that thing is actually as strong as All Might." When he heard that, he was in shock, but that didn't last long, as the hand villain noticed who said that. You were the one who killed my last Nomo, but this has made To kill All Might. You won't win this time, Brett. He lashed out at Izuku, whose eyes began to show signs of red in them. Midoriya, is everything okay? Ida said, but he didn't get a response except, it's happening again. Get away from Menno. The last part that Izuku said scared everyone, including Aizawa. Midoriya, calm down. I'm going to defeat the villain, said Aizawa in a reassuring tone until he heard the hand man talk. If that is so, Nomo, kill that green-haired brat. It was at this moment that Izuku didn't even try to contain his rage anymore. In a blur he was gone, and all his class heard was an explosion and smoke coming from the other side of the U.S.J. They saw that the bird-like thing and Izuku were gone, which worried them a little bit. They heard another explosion and something flying into the opposite direction of the dorm from where the last impact hit the wall to the right where Class 10 was standing. And when the smoke went away, they were shocked to see that their classmate was hanging from the side of the wall. Izuku, Midoriya, most of the class screamed in hope that their classmate was still, cried their hearts out, but Uraraka was crying the most at the sight of Izuku hanging from the wall bleeding from the hand. Man started laughing maliciously at how pathetic they are. Nomo, kill the students, he said with a happy. Nomo started moving at inhuman speeds. Just as he was about to punch Uraraka in the face and kill her, he stopped and exploded, leaving a big puddle of blood. Everyone was confused at what happened, and some looked at Bakugo, who was just as scared as the rest of the Nomo just regenerated, turning around to look at something behind him, but he just imploded, this time falling again. Uraraka fell to her feet crying as she saw who stood behind the Nomo. I won't let you hurt anyone. Midoriya screamed while having blood stains on his shirt and his pants. If you want to try and kill someone, take me. The Nomo was now healed again and tried to punch Izuku again, but he was gone, leaving cracks in the ground while a giant shockwave blew some of his teachers and classmates back. Appeared in front of the class and punched the Nomo with so much strength that he flew in the direction of the villains. It was at this moment that the school alarm went off and the teachers were alerted and immediately went to USJ. Izuku then jumped high into the air and yelled full power smash. The villains at the ground were knocked out as the shockwave hit them. The Nomo jumped at Izuku, but was punched to the ground, creating a giant crater that killed it. Was at that moment that the door opened and all teachers, including All Might Hand villain, was teleported away by the black portal, leaving the rest of the villains to get captured. All Might looked at Izuku with pride and shock as he saw that he was unconscious, falling from a high place. He wanted to jump to Izuku, but as he had used up his time he couldn't move. Saw that the teachers didn't move, and she saw Izuku falling quickly down from the highest point that U.S.J had. She knew that if Izuku was to hit the ground he would die, leaving her with no other choice than to try and get up and help. Sprinted to the edge of the stairs and jumped while activating her quirk to catch Izuku midair. She was only an arm's length away from catching Izuku, but he already went past her as she couldn't believe that she wasn't able to save the person that had mattered to her the most in her class. Izuku was falling ever more quickly as Uraraka looked down and couldn't believe he was about to die, but they just saw a golden blur as Izuku was catched by All Might and landed safely behind the fountain in the middle. Uraraka couldn't contain her joy as she began crying that Izuku was safe. She landed safely too because of her was on her knees as she wasn't able to stand. Class was already let out of U.S.J. She wanted to go to Izuku and All Might to look if he was okay, but was stopped by Cementos. You should go to your class, we have everything under control. Alright, thank you, Uraraka said while still crying a bit. As they gathered outside at U.S.J, they were counted by the police in Aizawa to see if anyone was missing when Uraraka came out. That makes 19 with Izuku inside, so everyone is here. All of them were relieved that no one was missing. All Might came out with Izuku. When everyone looked at them, All Might said, "He will be okay. I'm going to bring him to the nurse's office." Aizawa just nodded while the class was relieved that nothing bad happened to Izuku. They all were given the day off and everyone went home except Izuku. He was still lying in the nurse's office where Recovery Girl was checking up on him with All Might next to Izuku's bed. "He will be okay, don't worry, he's just exhausted, thank goodness." All Might was happy when Izuku woke up. What happened? "You knocked out over 100 villains and killed one of those giant bird things. Now I remember that one guy with hands over his body said that that bird thing was strong enough to kill you." All Might was shocked to hear this at first, but then he thought about if All for One could be back. "You can go home now, Midoriya. If you don't feel good, just come back into the nurse's office, and I will take a look at you again." "Thank you very much, Recovery Girl." All Might just waved at Midoriya, before turning to Recovery Girl to talk about the chances of All for One being back. Now have fun with the new chapter. In the U.A conference room, the teachers were discussing things about the upcoming sports festival, and the U.S.J attack. "What you are saying is that this child knocked out 100 villains, and took down a monster made to kill All Might. Yes, he truly seems to be out of this world." "So about the sports festival?" "Yes, we will still be holding it. This student that defeated the villains was strong enough to stop a superhuman being made to defeat All Might, and on top of that most of the top pros of the country will be there. If they wanted to attack, we would have enough defensive capabilities. That is a wise decision, Principal Nizu." After the talks about the sports festival, they decided to bring in pro heroes to talk about the villains and the child defeating the top pro heroes were there, including Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Edgeshot, Mirko, Crust, Kamui Woods, Gang Orca, Sir Night-Eye, Gran Torino, and the Wild Pussycats, with some police officers that are in the investigation team. All the heroes were in an uproar at how the villains could get past the U.A security system when 13 walked in. "I have the security cam footage here," he said with determination in his voice. "Now we'll find out about what happened in detail." And with that, 13 put the USB stick into the PC and loaded up the security footage from the U.S.J incident. "I can't imagine what power this child has," was all Sir Night-Eye thought about before looking at the projector screen. They all saw a static image which turned to the U.S.J security camera over the entrance where the students were standing while the portal opened and the villains came out. This is the so-called League of Villains. Then everyone saw the Nomos. "So this thing is as strong as All Might," said Mirko with a scared voice. "It was defeated by a child, so I wouldn't say so," Endeavor said confidently. They watched the footage when it switched to Izuku showing him activating his god mode as he told the others to get away from him. All pro heroes were shocked, and most of them were in fear that a child emitted the same aura as some big-time villains. They saw the blur going past his classmates and saw the impact he had created at the other side of the U.S.J, which truly let them question if Izuku was stronger than most pro. They saw the next explosion and the object flying into the other direction. All of them thought about the strength about the boy. All of them thought that he was stronger than them except for Endeavor, who was too confident in his abilities, until they saw that there wasn't the Noma stuck in the wall. But Izuku of them were shocked to see him in this state, and even Endeavor was taken back by this. All of the pro heroes wished to be there and help them out, but they knew that it is impossible to turn back the camera view. Switch to the main one above the students, showing the students and villains. "Nomu, kill the students," was all the heroes heard, and they feared for their lives. All Might would just appear and take out the monster, but that didn't. Noma now stood in front of Uraraka, and everyone was on the edge of their seats. The Nomu would have taken only a second to kill Uraraka, but it just exploded into 1,000 pieces while leaving a big puddle of blood. What happened was the reaction of everyone that hadn't seen the scene before. They all just saw Izuku standing behind the Noma screaming, "I won't let you hurt anyone." "What the hell is this power?" some of the pros asked scared, while others were filled with happiness that he took down the villain. But that didn't last for long. As the Noma healed back up, All Might / I would have had big problems with taking down that monster was the thought that everyone had in mind, but was too scared to say it out loud. When the Noma tried to punch Izuku, they saw the cracks and shockwave Izuku formed just by jumping, and everyone wanted to know how he got, so the school alarm went off and Izuku gave it his 100% and hit the Noma into the ground, leaving the other villains unconscious just by the shockwave itself. The heroes and police officers had one question in mind: is he actually as strong as All Might / me? But only All Might knew that he definitely is stronger than they saw Izuku falling and Uraraka trying to catch him, but was happy as All Might got him in the last second. He knocked out 121 villains, and killed that so-called Nomo in less than 2 minutes, the police officer said, as everyone was shocked at that statement that a child had broken their personal bests and records that they set at defeating the most villains in the least time. "How strong do you think he is?" Endeavor said with some concern in his voice. "His file says his quirk is in S rank." Everyone was speechless at this, as only All Might and one other person in the world were ever ranked S class. "I don't know how strong he is," said the police officer. "Maybe in my prime I would have had a chance, but not Midoriya is definitely stronger than me." All Might thought happy that his successor was already one of the strongest heroes out there. Everyone just looked down at how a 15-year-old student could now be the strongest hero in existence. "We want to conduct an experiment with Midoriya and the pro heroes that are currently here." "What's the experiment about?" Kamui Woods asked. "We want to let Izuku Midoriya fight all pro heroes that are here at once to determine the pure strength that he has." All pro heroes thought about how that would work out, but all of them agreed to participate. "Good, then this is decided. We will ask Midoriya about it and hope that he agrees to test where his boundaries are." Everyone went home at that statement except for All Might, Sir Night-Eye, Gran Torino, and Detective Naomasa. "So you gave him one for all, Toshinori?" "Yes, he is a true hero in my eyes. He definitely is strong," said Night-Eye. "The thing is, he spit it out, Toshinori." Gran Torino said, hitting him over the head with his walking stick. "He didn't even use one for all in that fight until the end." "So you are suggesting that he is way stronger than anyone ever thought?" "Yes." All Might and the others talked in private about Izuku and how strong he is. Izuku was walking home when he saw his mother already waiting at the door of their home. "Izuku, are you alright?" his mother screamed while hugging him so hard even he wasn't strong enough to get out of the bear hug. "Why, I am fine, thank Kami *. I made katsudon, your favorite." "Thanks, Mom." Izuku went into his room to get a new pair of pants and a new shirt, as his were still stained with phone buzzed as he was changing. He looked at his phone as he saw a couple messages from Ida, Tsuyu, Kirishima, Tokoyami, and most importantly for Izuku, many messages from Uraraka. "Are you okay? Please send me a message when you are home." Izuku blushed at the messages from Uraraka, but he decided he would need more time to answer her. Izuku ate dinner with his mother. After that he started messaging everyone in his class that he was okay, and that they didn't need to. He started to write the first message to Uraraka. His heart started to beat faster, he got more nervous with every word typed. Uraraka was lying in her bed sobbing into her pillow, as she was thinking about Izuku getting hit into the wall, his head hanging down and the blood pouring down. "I really hope Izuku is okay," she said, still sobbing into her pillow. Suddenly she heard a ding. She looked at her phone and hoped that it was Izuku's message, and not the class. Heart stopped for a moment as she saw the message. Izuku 3. Hey Uraraka, I'm good, what about you? Uraraka couldn't contain her happiness and started typing on her phone. I'm good too, have your injuries healed? Yeah, everything's fine now, smiley face. Uraraka let out a relieved sigh when she noticed that she was floating across her room. I'll be going to eat dinner now, and then go to night. Good night, Izuku. As she sent that text, she saw that she accidentally called him Izuku instead of floated a couple minutes in her room until her parents came into the room to call her down for dinner. Izuku was confused that Uraraka had called him by his first name, but brushed it off as he was going to eat. Midoriya was about to go to bed. He saw a message from All Might. Meet me in the teacher's lounge tomorrow morning. Before hoped that he wouldn't get punished for fighting with the drifted off to sleep thinking about what happened over the course of the day. Kami refers to a honored god or ghost in Japanese mythology. Izuku woke up on the next morning still a bit tired from the U.S.J. happily ate the breakfast that his mother prepared, showered, and went to the train station after changing into his school uniform. As Izuku was on the train to UA, he looked at the news on his phone. U.A. Attacked by villains, first year defeats over 100 villains. Izuku was shocked that the media made such a huge deal out of the attack, but for him it was kind of logical, as it was the top hero course in Japan. He thought about some things that the villain said. The Nomu is strong enough to kill All Might. Izuku still didn't know how that was possible, but he definitely knew that they weren't lying as he felt the punch of the Nomu. Izuku looked up and saw that he was almost at his station, so he got up and waited for the train to stop. After he had gotten out of the train and left the station, he met Ida on his way and talked about Ida's brother Ingenium and other heroes. When they reached the school, they were greeted by a lot of looks from the other classes, as the U.S.J. attack was the thing that most of the classes were talking. They reached their classroom. Izuku remembered that he had to go to the teacher's lounge and meet All Might there. Sorry Ida, but I have to go to the teacher's lounge, Izuku said while walking faster into the direction of the teacher's lounge. Don't run in the school building, Ida said while making robotic movements with his hands. As Izuku arrived at the teacher's lounge, he knocked on the door, and was let in by President Mike. Izuku saw all the teachers, Principal Nizu, and a police officer sitting there waiting for him. Welcome Midoriya, said Nizu, please take a seat. Izuku sat down on the free seat next to the skinny All Might and Aizawa. Do you know why we had you come here? I guess because of the U.S.J. incident? Yes and no. First we want to thank you for helping Aizawa, and we want to talk about the meeting we had yesterday. Most of the current top 10 pro heroes were there, and we all agreed to test your limits. Test my limits, in like another exam? Not like the exam, but we want you to fight some pro heroes and the teachers to determine your full. You want to see the maximum of your power? Yes sure. Good, then this is decided. Please come to the entrance of the school building on Saturday 10 a.m. Alright, then I will go to my classroom now. And with this Midoriya left the teacher's lounge, and went on his way to the rest of the school. Week went by pretty. Friday, Aizawa told them that they have a week to prepare for the sports festival. Izuku woke up on Saturday at 6 a.m. and ate breakfast, went on a jog and trained, and noticed that it was already 9 a.m., and started his way to UA. Arrived 5 minutes early and decided it would be best if he waited directly in front of the school building. After 5 minutes he heard Nizu talking to President Mike, which shortly after came out of the school. President Mike took Izuku to the battleground beta where already a go signal was told that there were some pro heroes and teachers he had to fight. Izuku was nervous that he now had to fight pro heroes and his teachers. Go. Present Mike yelled. Izuku started running through the city when suddenly Wood came shooting out of an alleyway which Izuku easily dodged. Kamui Woods jumped out of the alleyway and used his super move to capture Izuku, but he jumped back and caught the wood with his hand and pulled as hard as he could so Kamui Woods would get flung over to Izuku, so that he could punch him in the stomach. Kamui flew back a few meters when a golden blur hit Izuku in the back, making him fall to the ground. When he looked back, he saw an old man in a golden suit, but when he was about to attack the old man, he saw a stamp flying towards him which he barely dodged. 3 pro heroes against 1? Damn it, I need to find an opening with that. He decided to use one of his new super moves, Godspeed Star. Around Izuku's arms there started to form blue lightning which slowly covered his whole hair, lit up with a light green aura. Before Gran Torino could land a hit on Izuku, he disappeared and reappeared behind him a second later and punched him into the next building. Kamui and Sir Night-Eye looked scared at the pure power of Izuku. Suddenly Kamui Wood saw Izuku's face just centimeters before him and punched him down into the ground. Sir Night-Eye looked in terror as Izuku just took out 2 strong X/Pro heroes within seconds, but what would come next scared him even more. He just saw flames and earth beasts appear out of nowhere. Endeavor and the wild pussycat showed up just before Izuku could take out Sir Night-Eye. Watch out, he's extremely fast. Sir Night-Eye shouted at the others, but before he had finished the sentence the earth beasts had been destroyed. Mandalay and Ragdoll were knocked out. Tiger and Pixie Bob jumped back, while looking for Izuku when he appeared in front of them with a blank look on his, tried punching Izuku in the face, but he held Tiger's hand up and threw him into the next building. Pixie Bob created 4 of her beasts which didn't stand a chance against Izuku. Pixie Bob was knocked out a few seconds later with a light punch against her head. All she heard was a sorry from Izuku when he punched her. Now Endeavor knew that he could fire his flames at Izuku freely. Izuku turned his head to the right and saw the fire coming at him. He simply held his hand up and the fire went around his body, so it didn't hit him, at which Endeavor just looked shocked that a child was able to defend from one of his attacks. Izuku looked at Endeavor with a deadly glare in his eyes, at which Endeavor took a step back, but before Izuku could attack him his clothes were pulled together so he couldn't move and just fell over. All of them looked in shock as Izuku just stood back up again, now unaffected by Best Jeanist's quirk, and before Izuku could be restrained again, he took down Best Jeanist and Endeavor within seconds. Sir Night-Eye threw 5 of his stamps at Izuku and hoped that one would hit him to give him a few seconds to get close to him, and see his next of them actually hit Izuku square in the face, but he seemed unaffected by it and turned towards Sir Night-Eye. Sir Night-Eye stopped dead in his tracks and tried to run to the next heroes, so that they could regroup, but that didn't work as Izuku took him out with ran towards the exit he should head to and saw a group of heroes on the way he was to fight. Edgeshot, Mirko and Eraserhead waited on top of a building, and went to attack Izuku. As Eraserhead erased Izuku's quirk, the blue lightning and green aura disappeared. Edgeshot stretched his body with the speed of sound to knock Izuku out, but he just put his arm up and nullified the attack, which shocked all of them as he technically shouldn't have a quirk right now. Izuku looked at Aizawa, Mirko and Edgeshot while taking his fists into the air and smashing them down onto the ground, which broke the concrete beneath him and the building on which the pro heroes were standing. They jumped down from the building when Mirko jumped up and tried to kick Izuku in the head, well knowing how strong he looked up and smirked at Mirko, which got a confused look from her. Before Mirko could kick Izuku in the face, he grabbed her foot and knocked her out with a kick to her chin, which shocked Eraser and Edgeshot to an extent that both of them deactivated their immediately took advantage of that fact and activated Godspeed again. Izuku teleported next to Aizawa and took him out with an forearm smash. As Aizawa was falling down, Edgeshot knew that he was slower than Izuku, and he was right. Izuku teleported behind Edgeshot and took him out with a hit to the head. Izuku looked down the street and saw Crust and Gang Orca walking into an alleyway to ambush Izuku,